Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel where today I'm going to be ranking and talking about the Disneyland Paris roller coasters. So this is the third video in my Disneyland Paris mini series, and the third video is going to be focusing on the roller coasters. Obviously I've talked about travel, accommodation, the other attractions on offer at both the parks, and today we're going to be focusing on those thrill-seeking roller coasters. Some of them are a bit strange and you may wonder why I rank some of them so highly and some of them so lowly, but this is again all based off of personal opinions I formed on my trip there. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So the first roller coaster I'm going to talk about is more a disclaimer as to why it's so low on my list, and that is Casey Jr.'s Circus Train. The reason I've put this in 7th place and right at the bottom is because when I went I had no clue that this was actually a coaster, and I completely missed it out. I think there's also a boat ride in that area where you go around loads of mini models of all the Disney villages and castles and so on that feature in the films, and I completely missed both of them, so that is why it's so low. I'm really bad. I can't believe I missed out on a cred, but hey ho, that is life. So starting off the list properly, in 6th place is a coaster over in the Walt Disney Studios park, and that is RC Racer. I know, I can't believe it's actually classed as a coaster, but even RCDB, Roller Coaster Database, lists it as a coaster, so it obviously makes this list instead of the attractions list. I think that's also the reason why it's so low on my list, is the fact that it doesn't feel like a coaster to me. It's quick and it's actually got quite a lot of force, and you get some really nice like ejector hang time / air time when you're up the top of the pipe, but it's also just over so quickly, and the throughput isn't great as obviously you can only run one car. It seats a fair few people, but yeah, the queue for it was ridiculous and it was just such a slow moving queue, which doesn't change my opinion on the ride at all. I still think it's really good, and it's a lot of fun. I just don't understand how it can be classed as a coaster. But then again, I am that person that would say Cobra at Chesington, I would class that as a coaster purely because it isn't just a normal disco, it's got that disco, they are called disco coasters because they've got the hump in the middle, so I would class Cobra as a roller coaster, but I'm equally as confused as to why RC Racer is classed as one. But there we have it, and there's not really much else I can say about it, but at least it makes the list. In 5th place we have a roller coaster over in the Disneyland park, and that is Indiana Jones Temple du Peril. This is a very controversial coaster. A lot of people seem to not really rate it because it's quite rough, it's quite old. Again, it only runs 1 or 2 trains I think when I was there. I can't properly remember, but it didn't have many. Obviously it doesn't seat many, so throughputs can be quite slow, but I actually really enjoyed it. I think it is very thrilling, and yeah, it's an old ride, but I didn't find it rough. I found it a little jolty, but not to the point where it wasn't enjoyable at all. Again, the theming of this coaster is insane. It is amazing with all the fire outside at the entrance, and actually I was lucky enough to get a fast pass for this. As mentioned before, the queues do build up quite a bit and it's quite a low throughput coaster, so that was a bonus. The loop on it is actually really forceful and you hit it at quite some speed, so it took me aback, and also there's always that kind of added excitement that you have your bags on the coasters with you, especially when you're going through like loops like that. It's just strange to have your bag on the ride with you, but I got used to it when I was over there, and it didn't really ruin my day or change my day. It was just nice to know I still had my bag and I had it hooked over my legs and everything. But yeah, the coaster, it's not the longest coaster in the world, but it is really fun. It's got some good drops on there. Again, the loop is fantastic, and just the theming of the whole coaster really makes it into a proper kind of experience, which I really like, and that is why Indiana Jones makes it to number 5. In at number 4, back over at the Walt Disney Studios Park, we have Rockin' Roller Coaster featuring Aerosmith. This was a really pleasant surprise for me. I loved it. It is such a fun coaster, and let's just talk about it. You cannot miss the facade outside with the giant guitar. It's just insane. Like, it's huge. Obviously it's now shut and it is being rethemed over to Iron Man to fit in with the new Marvel attractions coming to the resort, which is kind of upsetting, but I'm sure Disney will surpass expectations with the Iron Man retheme, and I don't mind the Marvel movies, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like. But back to Rock and Roller, I loved the pre-show. It's really quite a fun little pre-show with the band members of Aerosmith all there, just talking, and then you get a pass into the studio, which is obviously where you board the coaster. And it's a really, really fun coaster. That launch is amazing. I love launch coasters as it is. I'm sure you know I love the likes of Stealth. I don't mind Icon, Rita, and things like that. Furious Bacco. And this launch packed a punch. It was really good. I liked all the music and the lights on the coaster. And again, it was quick, and all the inversions and loops. I think there was a loop in there. Again, because you're in the dark, it's quite disorientating, but I knew there were inversions. And they were really good. They were smooth. Obviously it's made by Vekoma, and they are not famous for being smooth coasters, and it wasn't rough. It was a little bit jolty, but it wasn't uncomfortable. And I just loved it, and I think I ended up doing it once or twice when I was there, as again the queues got really long and there were other things I wanted to do, and I ended up lapping Tower of Terror probably too many times and kind of didn't get back round to walking around to that side of the park when I was there. But again, it's a great coaster, really fun, and let's hope that the new theme follows through with the success of Rock and Roller. So we have made it to the top 3, and in 3rd place is the final coaster over in the Walt Disney Studios Park. I am of course talking about Crush's coaster. Where can I start? I've done quite a few spinning coasters, but not too many. I've obviously done the likes of Dragon's Fury and Spinball Wizard, and then I've also done the likes of Ice Mountain, Twistosaurus at Flamingo Land, and other coasters like that. But out of all the spinning coasters I've done, I think Crush's coaster just might be my favourite. I love Dragon's Fury, so it's a toss-up between Dragon's Fury or Crush's coaster. But that being said, it's my favourite or a very close second place when it comes to spinning coasters. I love the theming of the coaster. I think it's really cute. Obviously it's about Crush, who is in the Finding Nemo films. He's a really cute little turtle, and he's just really fun. It's got catchy music in the main building, and you can get a really good spin on the coaster as well, which is great for a spinning coaster. I know sometimes on some coasters you really don't get that good of a spin, but on Crush you really do. It's so much fun. Obviously there is a huge moment that again didn't make me jump, but it took me aback a bit just because I wasn't expecting it. I'm not gonna say exactly what that moment is, but it's when you're going up the main lift hill in the main building. Again, it's the theme is really upbeat, quite catchy, disco-y, nightclubby vibes for me, which I loved, and it's just so much fun. It's a great coaster for thrill seekers, but it's also just as good for families, and I cannot wait to go back and get another ride on there, as the queue was so long. I did it only the once during my extra magic hours, so I didn't actually have to queue that long to get on it. But yeah, no, I definitely want to get another couple of rides on there, and my opinion may change. I may rate it a lot higher, but obviously basing it off of just the one ride, I rate it very highly anyway, and that is why it deserves its spot at number 3 on my list. In at number 2, and just missing out on first place, is obviously they're both coasters from the Disneyland park, but in at number 2 is Big Thunder Mountain. I love this coaster so much. I cannot explain to you how good this is, and it was so difficult to pick between my top 2 as I just love them both so much, but Big Thunder Mountain just missed out. This was my traditional night ride when I was at Disney. For the 3 nights I was there, every night my last ride of the day would be a night ride on Big Thunder Mountain, and honestly it's because of the theming, it's because of the coaster. It is just one of the most incredible ride experiences I have ever had. On the 3rd lift hill, obviously there is a little surprise element to the ride vehicle itself when you're going up the lift hill, and the whole thing is just superb. It is out of this world. It's a very special coaster. Obviously I haven't done any of the other coasters at any of the other Disney parks that are themed around the same kind of thing as Big Thunder Mountain, but they sure have a lot to live up to after my rides on Big Thunder Mountain. It's such a well-paced coaster. It's really quick, got lots of speed, really good force. Obviously you just have the lap bar and you have the dual station, so even when the queue was saying it was really long, the queue seemed to fly when I was there, and I never really queued more than an hour for it, which was great. But I just miss it, and there's obviously the surprise element as to how the coaster gets onto the island in the middle of the lake. Like, it's just mind-blowing. Obviously there is a way you get there, but you're just so immersed in all the magic that you don't really realise, and it holds one of the most special memories for me, as on my last night there I had obviously watched the fireworks show over at the castle for the other 2 nights, and when I joined the queue I was aware I was probably going to miss at least the first 5 or 10 minutes of it, to go and have my traditional ride on Big Thunder Mountain in the evening. But what made it so special is when I was out on the island in the lake and I was going up the 2nd lift hill, you could just see all the fireworks going off, and it was just a really magical and special moment, that I will always hold very close to my heart. And it was just one of the best ways to end an evening at Disney, and I cannot wait to go back and spend many more evenings on Big Thunder Mountain. Which means in first place, and my favourite Disneyland Paris roller coaster, is Star Wars Hyperspace Mountain Rebel Mission. That is a mouthful, that is the full name, but most people just call it Hyperspace Mountain. The reason this is my favourite coaster is quite sentimental to me, and the reason why isn't because I love Star Wars, I do, but I'm not the biggest fangirl going. The reason why is because it was actually the first thing I did when I stepped foot in the Disneyland parks on the day I arrived. So once I dumped all my luggage off, this was the first thing I did. And I just fell in love with it. Obviously, it's a launch coaster, all the projections and the music and the sounds inside that coaster really made the experience for me. And of course the inversions, again, it's a Vekoma, it's not known to be smooth, but this one was. I didn't find it jolty, I didn't find it rough, I just found it really, really enjoyable. The pace is kept up really well on the coaster. It's not slow, it's not too fast, it's just a perfect ride. And the inversions are actually really good fun, especially on the front row, which I managed to get, which is quite surprising as I was a single rider, but obviously one person decided to sit in the front and two decided to sit behind, so I managed to get a front row ride and I fell in love with it even more on my front row ride. I just love it so much. The queue line is amazing for it, and you get immersed into that Star Wars universe pretty quickly, and it's just one of the best coasters I've ridden. I haven't ridden many, but for me, it may be really controversial and you may think it's really rubbish, but for me it's one of my favourite coasters I've ever ridden. Again, mainly because of how good the launch is, when you shoot up that pipe and into the main building, is just something else, and I miss it and I cannot wait to get back soon to have many more rewrites on my favourite Disneyland coaster. So there we have it. That is my ranking of the Disneyland Paris roller coasters. Obviously this is my own personal opinion. You may think very differently, you may think I've been harsh, or you may think I have hyped up a ride too much, but again, it's all personal opinion, and I think that's what makes great discussions and great videos, is when you can discuss the differences in opinions you have in a nice way without being mean, because there's too much hate in this world as it is, and let's all just try it and be kind to each other to get through the last few months of struggle, hopefully, until we can all go out and see our friends again. Please do like the video if you have enjoyed it, and leave a comment down below. Maybe let me know what your favourite Disneyland coaster is, or what coaster you're most looking forward to when you go and visit Disney. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. It would mean a heck of a lot to me. I have more sit down videos coming up, and also when lockdown is eventually lifted and places can reopen, I've got a lot of plans in the works for some pretty cool trips that will obviously be videoed and put on the channel for you guys. So with all of that being said, that is the end of the video. So all that's left to say is I have been Lou, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!